welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show.
Hey, hey,
Today it's
hey.
all about luck. It's all about luck. It's all about lucky and not lucky charms. We're talking lucky divine. Imagine that powerful name, Lucky Divine. Damn, that sounds like an artist. It sounds like perfection. It sounds like entertainment. Well, today we're going to understand how that name came about, but we're also going to know about heritage. And we're also going to know exactly what an artist is according to Lucky. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the Andre the Beast Crayton Show, the one, the only, Mr. Lucky Divine. What's up, big guy?
And thank you so much for having me. I'm very honored to be on your platform, first of all. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Such great manners, such great presence. I mean, I can feel all that energy just oozing through the webcam right now.
Hey, we in this thing. Let's get it.
Okay, so let's start like this. Who is Lucky Divine?
Well, to keep it short, Lucky is an extension of myself as well as my metaphysical blueprint. I feel like that's what I'll leave once I'm gone, or at least a part of my story. And it's really just a shield, but also my inner self. It's playful, it's free, it's open-minded, and it's ever evolving and changing, just like most of us, I think. Yeah.
You know, that sounds almost like I'm gonna just call it what it is. It almost sounds like you are becoming almost Christ minded, like you're using phrases that you normally don't hear from people as an introduction to themselves, like your your blueprint, this, that, and the other. How did you come up with this philosophy?
Honestly, I feel like it was God's plan. Shout out to Drake. But God's plan coupled with my upbringing culturally, my mom is from the Caribbean and black parents don't play religion. I feel like spirituality was something that was introduced to me at a very young and tender age. And I found my own little niche pocket within that understanding of what spirituality meant to me. I guess. And as I've continued to evolve and grow as a young person, becoming my own person,
Mhm.
I just grounded and understood and uncovered more in that those type of self-explorative principles are what has led me to the philosophies or the blueprint talk. It's kind of just been my love for God within me, that connection. I've just really been excavating that my whole life, genuinely.
How did you stay on track? You said you started under your inner circle. They didn't speak on religion. They spoke on spirituality. Your journey therefore started to move her. Did you ever, but you got multi heritage, so you're in the United States. Were you influenced with Western beliefs, and how did you separate the Western beliefs versus your spirituality universal beliefs that you still hold strongly to today? Was there ever conflict?
Definitely. And to add a little bit of preface to what I said earlier, if I misspoke, I had both. I had both the religion and the spirituality. My mom is an Aquarius. She's very open-minded, but she
Mom is
also
a what?
mom's an Aquarius.
I'm an Aquarius.
I
Great
know
thinkers, dog.
mom is the most profound spirit I've ever come across, even though we sometimes bump heads and have differing opinions or approaches. I really do respect her ideology and just who she is because she has really manicured and created this space for me to become myself within what I find is still a very structured rubric. Like she gave me the guardrails, so I would say my prayers and stuff before eating meals, before I go to sleep, like now I wake and see the light. God has kept me through the night. Things like that as a child that I found spiritual comfort in, but didn't understand. Those seeds have bore fruit, or like really started to bloom in me and just have continued to, and I know they will continue to continuously bloom new things within me. But to answer your first question more directly, I do find conflict between, Western spirituality and my own sense of self that I think is independent of my mom, my family, my nationality, my skin color, anything like that. I find just I've had to really unpeel a lot of indoctrination and what's the word? Conditioning. Conditioning. It's
Give me
very
an example of peeling back the layers.
well, I think that Christ consciousness exists with all of us. I feel like we are all one body. I feel like God is the mass ocean consciousness of water, and we are all just droplets of himself in individual bodies that represent that. So I'm not here to say that I'm the first person to ever crack that code or conclude that deduction. But what I am saying is that that's something I've uncovered internally through perception and just studying myself in the world and having a thirst for knowledge that has led me to a lot of profound insight that I find clarity, synchronicity, and confirmation of on through God. I feel like God reflects things to me like, hey, you're on the right track. That makes sense. Keep going, stuff like that. So
You're you're young. How does the new generation feel about your awakening? Definitely you got that beast mindset with continuing and doing what you got to do, but not letting anybody detour or derail you with your spiritual journey. But we still have people, like you said, that's been indoctrinated into a system of beliefs and not being able to think outside of the box, but more so thinking on a fear base. How are you being perceived with the way in which you are developing?
I think it really just comes from my sense of self, which really comes from God. I feel like I know God is real because of all the different tests, hills, triumphs, and tribulations I've endured in my life. It's really allowed me to have to almost like a come to Jesus, come to Jordan, come to Lucky sense of self moment of like, whoa, okay, God is real. I know this because of X, Y, and Z. And those experiences are what, at least for myself, that I can attest to, are what has really developed my foundation and my sounding board when I make spiritual decisions or decisions that are involved with my spirit. It all goes back to God, how I feel, the source, the alignment, how it sits in my gut, my spirit, my ancestors, you feel me? We be locked in. So that's it.
Lucky, get real. What kind of serious stuff have you gone through? You're young. What kind of stuff have you gone through? Please share with the viewers.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I gotta save some for the book, save some for the film. You feel me? We gotta keep some stuff low key. Nah, but I mean, I've been privileged to go to France and do, you know, eh, man, I don't even know where to start because it's not all about the glitz and glams. I've seen the ugliest parts of life, and I've been blessed to see the most ethereal, ritzy, exclusive experiences that can be overwhelming to even try to delve into. So, on top of having a taste and being privy to God expanding my heart and allowing me to get really close to a lot of my dreams or like touch the hems of experiences that I've prayed for, wished, and in the process of manifesting and things that I have manifested. Excuse me, I'm getting a little touched up, I guess, if you can't tell. Or,
Hey, go right ahead. I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
um, yeah, the peaks have made me appreciate the valleys, and the valleys have made me appreciate the peaks. And whether it's been, seeing the ugly in people, the ugly in the world, the ugly in myself, the ugly in whatever it is, it's all made me a more well-rounded person. And that well-roundedness, I think, is what is preparing me for my future, for the things I asked for the, little sneak peeks that blew my mind, or for the things that made me say, this isn't right. I've I feel like it's all just been a training day. Shout out to Denzel, my Capricorn brethren. But it's all just been like training preparation day for what's on the rise.
What have you asked for?
The world. I mean, I feel like I was just tweeting the other day how I remember as a child I used to have foresight or like astral project to the pyramids of Giza. Like when I used to be a kid, I would just daydream about Egypt and it just felt very natural. It felt like, ugh, like I saw pictures. It felt like I need to go there, or like it just felt very, I had an affinity for Egypt as a at a very young age. And I remember the affinity developing and me being like, wow, like I want to go there. I would just daydream about it all the time. It would captivate me. And I think even though I wasn't at 7 years old writing prayers to God, like, God, please allow me to go to Egypt, I feel
Right.
like my heart was manifesting that passion, that affinity, that spiritual touch that I was longing for but couldn't really comprehend.
Mhm.
Because now, almost 20 years later, I feel like I'm now in a space where when I do go to Egypt and God blesses me with that stamp, it will have been well earned. And I also will have had the foundational, I would have created the space to really appreciate it with long lasting depth because I've been yearning for it for so long, you know? So I'm not sure if that was too much of a tangent or I answered your question, but I started talking
Oh,
about you.
I get what you're saying. My question is, it's almost like a deja vu, so to speak. Like somewhere in your subconscious, there's a deep connection to maybe your journey from past life experiences, I guess, and a strong connection with Egypt. Have you done any research on Egypt? Like, why do you think it's such a fascination with Egypt in you?
Well, if I can tell you, I feel that I've discovered a lot more in the last year and a half, specifically why Egypt has been so prevalent to me.
Right.
In my teen and adolescent years, there was this show called like Young Tut, which was about uh Tutankhamun, King Tut, like the young king. And I thought that show was so cool. It's about a young prince, a king, and I was like, wow, this show is so cool. I loved Egyptian mythology and have my whole life. But recently, about last summer, I spoke to my aunt on the phone who's in Barbados, and this conversation came up from my mom telling me that her grandmother's middle name was Cleopatra. And my mom's side of the family from Barbados is of mixed heritage
Hmm.
on my grandfather's side and my grandmother. I believe my grandmother is like African and Indian or like an Asian, Guyanese,
Hmm.
essentially. And my mom's side is black as well as white European, but I'm thinking it could be like a little gem clue of maybe potentially Egyptian with my grandmother being named, with her middle name being Cleopatra specifically. So that is something that I haven't told anybody ever publicly. So, woo. But yeah, that's inclination that I have felt spiritually led to that I think is confirming again some of the Egyptian lore myth that has been sprouting my whole life. I feel like it's just continuing to bloom and bloom and bloom. And to kind of end that train of thought, I was also born on New Year's Eve, December 31st, which in Egyptian mythology is a spiritually significant time period where the Sirius star, which is the brightest star in the sky, is basically able to be viewed for like 50 or 60 days roughly. And if I'm not mistaken, with that star arising in the sky, it would essentially indicate crops and fertilization being renewed, and it would also indicate when the Nile River would flood again. So it's a very spiritually significant time period that is representative of and ushers in a lot of change. And yeah, it was kind of like, you know, their whole life was modeled after this very significant aspect of, you know, fertilization and okay, this is when we build up to do stuff and now here our crops are and things like that. So I'm still learning. I'm not an expert yet, but that's what I got thus far.
It's funny when you look at social media, this generation is truly becoming awakening. It's not as many as I thought it would be, but it's still a significant number. And their belief system is so universally connected that it's almost scary. It makes me wonder why generations even before me couldn't grasp this concept, but your generation seems to have not only gravitated to it really good, but you have amplified it. to the point that you're now becoming almost masters of your godlike intentions, definitely moving that beast mindset by elevating mind, body, and soul. That is crazy. Like even me and you meeting was crazy. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I had no idea you was gonna go here. When you mentioned artists, to me, I thought you was talking about singing, but you're talking something totally different. So let's go back for a minute. What does artist mean in to you? That word artist, 'cause we hear it on a one-dimensional plane. We hear it as it pertains to the entertainment field. We hear it when it pertains to musical. But you look at the word artist in a whole different panoramic view. What is it like for what is your definition of artist?
I think artists, honestly, not to sound too wokey woke, but I think that could be a new form of binary, even in terms of how we identify as people, because I don't think there's a margin or really proper barometer to judge, oh, I'm 10% more of an artist than you are. You know, the local barista at your coffee shop who wears a cool sweater that always infuses your day with positive vibes in their own creative aspect or way, in my mind, could have an artistic spirit, even if they don't necessarily practice a discipline yet or even at all. So to me, an artist is really just someone who is unafraid to embody a free-spirited creativity that I think allows everyone else to feel like it's okay to do the same. They're a
Why do you,
hero.
yeah. Why do you think it's difficult for people to think the way in which you and others are thinking now? We still being met from a fear-based society. We still having people would rather cut off their right hand for being indoctrinated into a system of beliefs than to really think outside the box. Why do you think that is now?
I think that's because we don't have enough role models who embody integral qualities that impressionable people need to solidify a strong sense of self that is fixed or direction oriented. You know, I feel a lot of people, a lot of young people are lost in the sauce. You feel me? As, hey, trap, 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 every day, party, party, party. No one's really intentionally, I shouldn't say no one because that's not the truth, but I just wish and hope and pray that people of all ages can really lock into their roots and hanker into their heart and, you know, let their higher source be their North Star to guide them in whatever their soul's purpose is. You know, it takes strength and courage, but I don't think it's far out of reach. It really is just a lot of people are not even aware that they can unearth that sense of individuality, you know, and it takes time to grow. It's not an overnight process. None of us are perfect, but yeah.
How does your parents feel about your enlightenment and what you're trying to do with um, getting your message out?
My parents very much support me. They love me deeply and they want the best for me.
How do you plan to get the message out? I know you're not going on this crusade alone. And a lot of times you're going to be met with a lot of resistance, even from your own age bracket, your own peer group. If you had to resonate, how do you make your message stronger for people to pay you attention to what you're saying and really look within themselves to understand what you're talking about? Because you have to look within yourself. So how do you get rid of all that banana peels and make them really take what you're saying and really research it, not be opinionated, but to really listen to what you're saying? How do you go by doing that?
You know, I don't force it. I don't force a damn thing respectfully. I feel like the people who are aligned with what I have to say will be around in the circumference to hear it when it's time. And not that I don't go out of my way to, you know, post things that I think are important or to share my message, but I think I've reached a place in my enlightenment to not care or search or be places that I don't need to be. I very much believe in divine alignment and divine timing, and I don't waste my breath in spaces I'm not supposed to be in. I feel like God will ordain me and position me in certain places to do what He has called me to do very effortlessly, honestly. And I find that that is the beauty in me walking in my purpose, is that I have the privilege of feeling like I'm always where I'm supposed to be when I'm in my purpose. Okay. So that's that's genuinely how I feel. I hope that wasn't like too cocky, but that's the truth. You feel me? You said, how do I, make the message stick? How do I make it hit? I find that it hits when it's supposed to, and all I really have to do is listen to God and show up, and He does the rest. That's, you feel me? So I'm just really much, very much in my alignment era.
What has been like, has there really been any difficult moments for you trying to ascend?
Whew, buddy, are you kidding me? It's been a freaking bear crawl to the top, you feel me, from the time I was born. I mean, it's I guess I make it look easy. Let me stop, let me stop. But
Yeah, you are making it look easy.
Um, no, that's God, honestly. So let's just, you feel me? Shout out to the Most High, because He blesses and anoints my spirit with this jovial energy that, I'm grateful to embody. And the optimism, it really dissipates any fear or obstacles, because I truly do believe in a higher power, in God, and I'm happy. I am in love with myself. I love my life. I'm very happy. I'm very peaceful. So like, I really don't have too much to weigh me down or make me like anything other than grateful and happy and as bright as I can be, because I want to make the world a better place. Each one teach one, start with the man in the mirror, that whole thing. But yeah, I feel like I'm rambling. I'm sorry.
how do you how do you teach an individual to think outside of the box?
You have to first, I think, introduce them to God if they don't know God, and then show them how to relinquish more of themselves to God for God to relinquish more of themselves into that vessel. I think it's a very symbiotic, flowy relationship. So I'd be like, hey, maybe you need to, in order to expand, we got to try some new things. So maybe, have you tried meditating? Spent have you done a vibrational meditation for 2 hours, a sound bath? Maybe try to, let some energy go, your chi. I'm very much into like energy and vibration. So I do believe that things are spiritually, I'm very much into the metaphysical. I think that,
It's funny, and I'm gonna ask you the same question. I know you know who Billy Carson is. If you're on this journey, you've seen what happened to him, where he was trying to resonate with people, the the mystic arts and the way people thought and the Christ mind and so forth. And it was just a matter of time, which I saw it was going to happen. I always said it's just a matter of time. He was met with Western civilization beliefs. And I felt bad for him because he walked off of a debate, and it wasn't supposed to be a debate. It should have been two individuals sharing knowledge, no matter what aspect that it came from, But I saw Western beliefs basically. I wouldn't say it trumped him, but it was like, how can I put it where it makes sense? It never should have happened. It should have been a situation where both individuals could have been able to explain a journey of enlightenment from all spectrums and stuff. So my question here, have you been met with such challenges in debate? Because somebody said, well, you need to, if you go with Western, they say, we need to be going like this and you won't have these issues. You need to do this so you wouldn't do this. So everybody's got their own little philosophies to get to the higher level. Have you been met with resistance from stuff like that?
yeah, I feel like the enemy and the devil can work through each and every single one of us, even myself, if I'm not privy at times. And that's something that I'm really learning to master. So I do not take it personally when I find resistance in people where I feel as though not that we can't have a differing in opinions, but if I feel like now you're spiritually being combative with me or our spirits are at odds, I really just remove myself from the equation because I know that I'm always moving with integrity. So it's like, okay, if I'm in a space where I'm moving with integrity, but now I feel like I'm being cornered in or like y'all trying to gang up on me philosophically, I'm just going to remove myself because these are not peers that I need to be in cahoots with. So I have, obviously run into differing of opinions and people trying to change my philosophy or pry or, question it. And I'm open to conversations that inspire both parties to see things from different perspectives. But when it comes to me being kind of stone wall met with differing opinions, if there's no room for growth on both sides, then that's not a space that I need to dwell or reside in. So that's my philosophy with that.
What are some of the things that they say to you to try to prove their point over yours that you hear all the time?
I mean, I don't really hear things all the time, man. I be in my own little world. Like, you're not going to catch me anywhere. I'm very much off the scene. I don't really have conflicts with people. You feel me? So
Yeah.
not I'm a very much out the way guy, super. So I don't even really run into those type of people, those type of experiences that I can even think of oh, I always hear this because I'm always doing me.
You don't put yourself in that vibrational frequency, so to speak.
Hell to the no.
So my next question is, what's your end game here? I know you're trying to teach, you're trying to enlighten yourself. You're definitely trying to find a deeper connection with you in Egypt, which I'm still fascinated by. I don't think you're giving me the whole bowl of cereal. I think you're giving me just a little bit. There's more about Egypt that you're not telling me, but I'm gonna find out before we get done. So what's the end game here for you?
The end game is to be in alignment, step with purpose, and leave a legacy. I really want to have, I want to ensure that whatever I do here in my days on this earth will benefit people for the rest of time. And I know that can sound like a tall order, but I believe in myself and know that God has already exceeded my expectations. So I know that what I'm asking for isn't too far out of his realm of capability.
What do you mean when you say he's already exceeded?
I mean, my man has gotten me to 9 different countries, the Great Wall of China, the Paris, the Eiffel Tower. You feel me? I've been parlaying with some of the top 1%ers just to kind of get a taste for the room of like, okay, this is where you're supposed to be. Not like them, but you kind of get a little bit of an understanding of how the cogwheels work for this industry, this space, what it's going to be like. I just literally have to write a book that I'm slacking on. Like, all right, time is ticking. I need to start it today. But yeah, we could talk for hours. We could talk for hours. Really, I've really seen everything the world has to offer and so much. There's so much more for me to see. But I just know that God is very real. This world is very grandiose and marvelous and huge. And there's so much that I think is wrong with it in terms of how a lot of people don't have access to the beauty of the world, such as fresh, clean water, clean air, peace, quiet, clean food. You feel me? Like it's just so many things that I think when you have been privileged and blessed enough to see these little pocket moments of sunshine,
Yeah.
it really makes a person, at least like me, want to fight more for, everyone on earth to be able to have access to a higher vibration, simply.
Yeah. Doesn't it make you pissed that we got people with $53 billion and $100 billion, and we still got homeless people on the street?
Yeah,
We got people that can't even that wondering where the next meal coming from, but you're comfortable with $53 billion, a quarter of $1 billion, even $1 million fucking dollars, and you can sleep at night. And you're not
it's
worrying about
people.
the other people that don't have shit. Can you imagine if you gave everybody a fucking dollar, the difference it'd make?
It's the evilness for me, man. It's evilness for me. But, I do believe that all of that can and will be combated with vibrations. I feel like we are more interconnected than we know, spiritually, metaphysically, telepathically, psychically, all the things. And I really believe that it just takes one person to change the world. And if I'm blessed enough to be that one guy, then God bless my soul. But that's my mission, my, passion. I'm like, man, we got to change this. That's not right. So
It's
that's
funny, Divine, that you said that, because we just had a guest on the show that's about your age, and he invented um it's almost like a thin cap. He's like 25 years old. His name is Ethan Rice. He's taken the social media by storm. He was just on the show, and he developed something that you can go into your own dreams while you're awaken, almost like manifesting, but going into a deeper realm. And he shared the same kind of concept that you did, that we're all connected, vibrational to some degree. We're just not on the same frequency. We don't know how to tune in on the right channels to get there. Um, I see your point. I see what you're trying to do. You visited so many places that you mentioned. Which places really stood out to you, and why?
This is going to sound controversial, but I believe in past lives, and I believe that there's a thing called dharma and karma. So I believe that depending on where your karmic and or dharmic currency sits would determine your likelihood to have to maybe come back to earth to learn a little more, whether it's a willing decision, like, I really want to come back and help earth again. I think I've got the idea of how we can make this work. I think something like that is possible, as well as I believe things like, I missed a lesson here, missed a lesson there. I think Earth is a school, and I could come back to learn even more from these beautiful spirits on this planet who cohabitate this space with me. And that's the beauty of life. And again, everything has duality. So I preface the reincarnation point I'm about to make with that. I believe that I have lived many past lives before, and that God has taken me to the territory of each of where my past lives have dwelled, so that I can reacquire the physical chi and have like almost like an out of body type of like, deja vu, I feel like I've been here before type of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So I say all that to say China was very much an eye-opening experience that I did not have enough time to really absorb. I was there for about 8 days, I want to say, and I got to go to the Great Wall of China. It was amazing. The culture, rich, you feel me, very much its own culture. Love that about it, because growing up in America primarily, Eastern culture was something that I had never experienced firsthand. So Asia was definitely probably one of the most profound aesthetically places I had ever been, just because, the minds were different. It's a whole different part of the world. So I had a lot of respect for that. Mm, I loved France. I don't know if it's the artist in me, but Paris was so beautiful. I really enjoyed French culture and the air and the architecture. And I love Barbados because that's where I spend the most time with my family. So those are three places that off the dome really have stood out the most to me, but also Mexico, because I feel like I've also had like past life being a Native American
Mm-hmm.
with my dad, who I believe has Native American ancestry, and or in my own spiritual soul self, having, some type of like past life ordeal in South America with like Mayan, Aztec, that type of time frame.
It's funny you talked about reincarnation and past life experiences. I was fortunate to be blessed to have Virginia Drake on, who came to the studio. She spent the whole week with me, and it was truly an eye-opening experience. This lady spoke exactly like you spoke, but on the social media forefront, we hear about the Reincarnation Act. We hear about the prison school here on Earth, the souls being trapped, and so forth. I'm pretty sure you researched that, but you mentioned that you felt you came here many times. Why not just go home the next time and say I want to go home?
I feel like that's where I'm at this point in my life. I'm like, damn, like this is a lot. Like it really, the human experience can be very overstimulating if you are not spiritually equipped to cleanse and move forward, because a lot of things in this earth are meant to like latch onto your soul, weigh you down, suck your energy out, and you're the battery for 18 different enterprises that you didn't even subconsciously know you had just signed your life away for a 2-year deal, an 8-month stint. You feel me?
They're
So
called the soul contract.
yeah, you feel me?
Yeah.
Some people are getting what's the word? Weaseled out of their soul, you feel me? Like, and they don't even really know it. It's very much giving there's a lot going on this planet that I think a lot of people are not privy to, especially spiritually, behind the veil. You feel me? Um,
I call that the Wizard of Oz.
Shout out to Wicked.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Like, okay, everybody in the Matrix, everybody wants to see like who the wizard is, like who's pulling the strings.
a lot of people. It could be a what you call it, a principality or principalities that are embodying human vessels, which are pulling the strings on the masses collectively and then individually.
This is crazy. You learned all this at how old?
Well, if I can flip your cap one more time,
Flip
I
it.
I believe that I am never said this before live, but clairvoyant, and I have a lot of spiritual gifts. So on top of me having past life knowledge, I genuinely believe that I'm God's most ordained angel, like an earth angel, like how it's like earth angels. I believe that I'm God's most roaring earth angel, and that's what he's positioning me to be. So with that comes a lot of spiritual insight, and I just know that I'm like the most knowledgeable cat walking. You feel me? Obviously, I don't know everything, but when you ask me questions like, "Oh, how do you know this?" It's just intuitive things that I either have researched or just intuitively I just know things spiritually. So it's kind of a mix of spiritual and logical knowledge.
How many deja vu encounters have you had that you can remember?
Bruh. That I can remember.
Or
If
let
I
me
can,
rephrase it. The ones that have really resonated with your divine purpose and your spiritual universal growth.
the first one and only one that I think I should mention and is worth mentioning would be I remember when my mom and I we had a house somewhere here in Indianapolis, like in on the west side. And I could have been about 6 at that time. It was a little after New Year's Eve. The High School Musical 2 movie had just come out. We moved into this house. My birthday happened New Year's Eve. So this could have been maybe a little bit after I turned 7 years old. 7 is my life path number. It's also my favorite number. And I find that 7 has a lot of spiritual significance and resonance for me specifically.
Mhm.
So probably right after I turned 7, I remember just being a kid playing in the house and like daydreaming into a home that I had yet to have seen. And I remember like telling my mom about it loosely. And she has told me this story a few times later, but basically I prophesied the townhome that we were getting ready to move into, down to the detail of like the corridor of the first hallway and the stairs and how it would go up to the banister.
Mhm.
And she told me that I told her that when I was a kid, and that was her first inclination of me having, a spiritual foresight or insight, that type of thing. So that would be an example of, I guess, a deja vu of like I've been here before. But
Mhm.
if I can add something onto that,
Go ahead.
I do remember that once we had moved into this new townhome, I remember one day being upstairs in my room, sitting on my bed, laying down, and it could have been noon, so I could have been taking a nap. And I remember I was taking this nap, and all of a sudden I was above my body in like a bird's eye POV, and my body was still laying down, but I remember like spiritually sitting up and being able to see myself from above. And then it kind of just concluded and ended very naturally or gradually. and I probably woke up from the dream or something. But this was all, kind of in the same type of timeline. So that is one of the first and most profound experiences of a deja vu type of thing. But I have deja vu kind of often at this point. I feel like I'm growing into having more, or it's a little weird.
Before we wrap up, let's get deep down because you brought this up, not me. How many encounters or messages or enlightenment journeys have you been having with this Egyptian quest? Because usually, when you hear people that have the type of gifts that you have, they're often revisited. And the reason I know this is because even watching Doctor Strange, when they were talking about the multiverse, he kept saying, "Hey, I keep having this dream," and your girl said, "It's not a dream. That's just real. That's just real. You know, you die multiple times. You're dead over here. You're over here. You're over here. You're over here. But you exist over here." So, with that said, what do you really analyze deeply your connection to Egypt because you keep really talking about it? What do you think your livelihood was in Egypt? Was there untold things that you think that maybe in a past life you didn't fulfill or something that you missed out on?
Well, if I can tell you, I believe I am the one in every incarnation. So out of 12, I'm the one, which means that I'm the leader. So I think in every lifetime from the beginning of time, my soul's essence has continued to origami, unfurl, or ripple out as myself, but also as a spiritual leader, almost indicative of like a Christ consciousness. So, 300 years ago, it was this person. 800 years ago, it was that person. 2,500 years ago, it was that person. But I think it's a narrative that's being driven and a plot that's being written by whatever character at the time is being given the pen or the camera time. You feel me? The main stage. So I do believe that I did have more than one lifetime as an Egyptian being, deity, God, whatever you want to call it. I find myself always being drawn back to that part of the world. My birth name is Jordan, after
Mm.
the River Jordan, which is right up there in that little Northeast African, Middle Eastern Peninsula area territory. And yeah, man, I don't know where to start. I feel myself rambling with all the
It's
information.
funny because you're almost talking like I get what you're saying. A lot of people, a few people may not understand. I get what you're saying when you talk about it's almost like time portals. You get a little bit of knowledge here. Okay, well, I can't do no more here. Let me, quote unquote, let me die. Boom, let's go to the next level. Okay, learned a little bit here. Okay, I'm Peter over here. But let's go to the next time portal. So you're leaving a ripple effect in every one of these dimensions that you're going through, and with each dimension, hopefully, you're learning a little bit more of the mystics of extending to a higher consciousness of Christ minded state. I guess I'm saying it correctly to some
You
degree.
are, we're in the same ballpark. I was gonna say if you've seen the Eternals or are into Marvel with like Loki and like the timelines, I feel
Oh my
like
God, don't go there.
well, no, I'm not gonna get too far because that we will be here a little extra long.
Yeah,
But what I was gonna say is that I feel like God, the Most High, the ultimate omni source, is, you know, using us. I feel like there are 12 archetypes of
right,
spiritually, and
right.
each of us body, if not one, maybe multiple, but I find that we're all being used almost like as a rake to cosmically keep the cosmos in order. So when you were talking about time portals and that made me think of timelines, I'm like, yeah, I'm just here to, do my one little big one that is going to have the ripple effect to make sure in 4 years that the timeline is going the correct way. So that's my philosophy.
It is so funny. Before we end, I just got to get your opinion on this because you're young. I watched Loki. It was so funny. My nephew had watched it first, right? And I'm not a Loki fan. I wasn't a Loki fan at all. I got to be real. I wasn't. He was just too much of a misfit god. You know what I mean? Always in doing some. I don't roll like that. But the universe is funny in its own magnificent way. I watched the series and I was blown away for the symbolism that was decoded throughout that movie. And at the end, it really tripped me out, which you've already seen the whole series. I
Well,
was,
I've seen season one. I haven't seen season two yet. I'm late to
oh, I'm
that.
not even going to tell you then. You need to watch it. It was clearly, let me tell you like this is what I tell people: darkness cannot hide light. That was an eye opener. And I still can't believe that people can't understand that Hollywood tells you everything that's going on. Everything. We even having the lady who wrote The Matrix. A lot of people don't know she was black. The lady that wrote The Terminator was black, but she wrote it years ago while she was in college with OJ. And now that's coming to light years later. And I was like, how did you have the foresight to write that? She goes deeper, but you have to watch that particular episode when she comes on the show. But it's funny that now we're now living in the age of Aquarius and Pisces, to where if you ask to be here, according to your soul contract, you ask to be here during this beautiful awakening of enlightenment. And a lot of people don't understand. But I tell people, everybody ain't ready. You know, I know what you're saying, but it's may be difficult for people to resonate. What's your take on that?
Mm, Nothing before its time. I do believe in divine timing as well. So
Mhm.
when things are met with resistance, regardless of the degree, I find myself really just, you know, looking for the deeper message of, okay, maybe I shouldn't be sharing this information or it's not resonating, so let me keep it to myself. You feel me? Nothing before its time. You can't rush people's process. I don't want to be rushed, so I'm not about to rush anybody else. So
Mhm.
that's my take on that.
You know what? We're gonna have you come back in and we're gonna talk some more. After you watch Loki, we're gonna have you come back after you watch the whole complete series. Because I know you got a lot more to share, and we don't want to overkill because you don't sit down and give a baby a whole bunch of baby food and expect them to digest. But I know you got a lot more inside information. We'd love to have you come back and talk a little bit more about your journey and the explanation of artists from your standpoint. With that said, how can the viewers follow you and know more about you?
Well, anyone watching at home, hey, what's up? You guys can follow me at Lucky Divine. That's LuckyDavine, just like Da Vinci. All platforms.
You know what? Thank you so much, Lucky, for coming on the show. Definitely going to have you back. Make sure you guys look him up, click. You got any questions, shoot it to him. All it takes is one click, one email to change your life or to change somebody else's life. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton show.